Everybody. I'm going to make everybody, we're all going to stand up and do calisthenics just to get the blood going. Okay, well, welcome everybody to the June meeting of the Fort Worth Astronomical Society. It's going to be a very interesting program, including elections. And I already think I like the location of that speaker better. I think we'll have a little less feedback. So we have, I think, 25 folks here today and 5 or 6 folks online. I'm not going to read everything here. Well, actually, so our agenda's up here on the left. And so just a little bit of a welcome. Our main presenter is Peter Biello, and he's going to, pardon? Biello, okay. And he's going to talk about collaboration in astronomy. So it should be pretty interesting. We'll have a break. Phil Stage will run our raffle. And we'll have our What's in the Sky monthly reports and business meeting. And since we're doing our elections during the business meeting, it's going to be important for everybody to hang around. So, again, thanks everybody for coming. The weather is hot, and nobody really likes to be outside. So, anyway, about the Astronomy Society, we've been around since 1949. We have more than 200 members, which is extraordinary. So it really does put us as one of the largest astronomical societies in the country. We have lots of experience. Are there any guests here tonight? Can I ask your name? Chandler, welcome. So we'll go through this spiel a little slower. So we hope you join, of course, but there's a tremendous range of knowledge and experience in the club. So, and we do all kinds of stuff from visual to imaging. There are a couple of us guys, not me, but a couple of folks who do some radio. And so it's a broad range. We hope you join, and we welcome you to the meeting tonight. So the fourth bullet is all about if you have questions, ask. The only dumb question is the one you don't ask. And so we're a nonprofit. We're a 503c1, and we're always begging for money. So. Anyway, thank you. Thanks for being here. Next slide, please. Okay, new members. If you're here, raise a hand, and if you're not, we won't know. So, Alan Edwards and family, welcome. Addie is back there. He's a prospective cadet at Annapolis. He just got back from a seminar there, so it's looking good for him. Jake Sirkis, I know that kid. He's definitely not here. Mr. Tom Nelson, he's member number 200. Paul Ferguson and family. Brad Burgess. Richard Curriton and family. Dennis Cowles. Okay. John, you get your envelope back. Okay. I think Dennis registered and signed up yesterday. So very exciting about the growth of the club. Already asked about visitors. John Chiarmini is the man if you want to join. And since we do have elections today, if you haven't paid your dues yet and you want to vote, see Mr. John. Okay? So the current executive board, I'm Bob Sirkis, I'm the president. Bill Hall is the vice president. He's the guy that secures our speakers and does a lot of stuff behind the scenes in putting these presentations together. John Giarmini is our treasurer. He has been our treasurer for 4 years, and he would like to retire before the end of the 5th year. Is Monica Merritt here? I don't see her. Monica Merritt is the secretary. And Phil Stage. One. What? Can we transcribe the minutes from the recording?
All I'm saying is we have to have
this meeting. Got it. Okay, and we're recording the meeting, right? Okay, we're good. Phil Stage is here. Bruce Campbell is another director. Zach Smith's, Robert Cargill's position as a director is open. Zach Smith's position is open. We thank them both for their service. And our legal beagle is Cy Simonson. And he does a tremendous amount of work for us, particularly in the last year. So key contacts, our development committee, that's a group that's planning what we're going to do out at our Rising Star observing area. Michelle Thiessen is the chairman. Tom Roth is on the board. Robin Pond is on the board. Let's see, Robert Cargill is no longer there. We thank him for his service. Zach Smith has left, and we thank Zach for his service. We have an opening on the Rising Star on the development committee. So if you're interested, just let any of the board members know. Public outreach is Patrick McMahon and John McCrae. He does Tandy Hills. And we have a bit to talk about for public outreach a little bit later. Palo Pinto Mountain State Park, Tom Roth is our representative. Do we have anything this month? Okay. Thompson Observatory is an observatory at Southwest Adventist University, and we are partnering with them. It's been a slow process, but we're starting to get together to figure out what the rules are. Cy thinks we need to get that in place before we do too much else. George Lutch is our website, and in the next 4 to 6 weeks, we're going to move the website from its current host to the new host on Google. Oh, and here's Monica. Monica is right here now and making her entrance. Yeah. So we now have a secretary present. Okay, awesome.
Are you happy, John?
Yeah, anything to make John happy, because we need him to be the treasurer for the next year. Okay. And again, Bill Hall takes care of getting presenters for us. And for memberships and donations, please see Mr. John back there. Okay.
That's my cue.
That's your cue. And I'll turn it over to Bill Hall.
So while I was at NEAF this year, one of the great things about NEAF is that they have talks for professional amateur collaboration. And one of the people that was involved at these talks is Peter Below. And after NEAF was starting to break down, I met up with him and asked him if he'd like to present to our club. And so he's a longtime amateur astronomer, specializes in public outreach and variable star observation. He's a former, He's a former president of Boston's ATMs, so telescope making. Currently, he's a board member with the American Association of Variable Star Observers. And I just lost my list. And he's actually, as an observer of that organization, he's made over 20,000 observations. And he's the manager of Timberland Observatory, the only public school district observatory in New Hampshire. And he's also the executive secretary of the Antiques Telescope Society. So with great deal of excitement, I would like to introduce Peter, who's going to be on our Zoom channel. Hi, Peter.
Hi, Bill. How are you doing?
Good, good. Welcome.
Thank you. And by the way, the only way I can do half of this stuff is because I retired 4 years ago. And all of a sudden I have time to play with the Antique Telescope Society, time to work in AVSO, and I heartily endorse retirement. Let's see here. Am I set up for sharing here? I don't know. We'll see. Nope, I'm disabled. So if somebody could allow me to share, we can get going. Oh, and the ATMs of Boston, really, a third of the members, about 350 total members, a third of them maybe make telescopes who are really observers. Ah, okay. There we go.
Yeah, you can go ahead now.
Okay. I'm thinking this is where I want to be. Are you folks seeing my slides?
We do.
Okay. Are you seeing just the main slide, or are you seeing stuff on the right as well?
We're seeing your notes on the side.
Rats. How do I get rid of notes? Give me a second here just to try to. Oops, I didn't want to go there. You know, I've only been doing PowerPoint presentations here since PowerPoint existed. It's not that I'm all that good at it.
Up at the top, you have a display settings. You should be able to switch between them.
Top display settings.
To the left. Up.
Oh, I mean right up at the top, right in front of my nose.
There. Swap presenter view and slideshow.
There you go. Is that okay? Okay. So anyhow, hey, folks, thanks for having me. I do appreciate it.
No, we're still seeing.
Bill has had.
We're still seeing your notes.
Given me I'm sorry?
We're still seeing your notes.
Yes, I'm not. Hold on. We will get there. I am going to reshare from a different thing. How about that?
Almost. If you do full screen, that should do it. Hit F5.
Pardon me? Oh, okay, thanks.
Or no.
Well, almost. We're just going to go with this. How's that? There we go. Okay? So I guess the first question comes up is, you know, why do amateur astronomers want to collaborate with the professionals? I think there are a lot of reasons, and everybody has their own. You know, there's so many times you can, you know, view the Orion Nebula or M13 before it kind of gets old hat. You know, a lot of people out there have been doing astronomy for a while, and they just want to contribute to the knowledge base. Or you might be like me and be finally retired and you're looking for something worthwhile to do to kind of give back. You know, the bottom line is a bunch of different reasons. An equally, I think, important question is, why do the professionals want to collaborate with us? And the reasons are that there are very many professional astronomers and grad students. They all need data for research and papers. If they don't produce papers, that's career suicide. It's publish or perish out there. So each of them has multiple research topics that they're working with at any given moment. And there's only a finite number of professional size telescopes. And they're generally used for, discovery kind of projects, not for long-term follow-up. You can't just whistle up Hubble Space Telescope, to follow an exoplanet for 5 hours. So they count on follow-up observations from us in a lot of areas. The quickest and easiest way to contribute is actually just let the professionals have clock cycles on your computer. If you set your computer up to participate in what's called BOINC at Berkeley SETI Research Center, Berkeley collects data from several radio telescopes, and they borrow hundreds and hundreds of computers out there to analyze the data when you're not using them. So when you when you just, turn off the internet, they take over. There's no effort required. There's no special hardware and software. And there's a bunch of programs you can contribute to. I sent Bill this presentation, so you don't have to try to copy like the URLs I list. I hope he can make them available. But like this next page, this is a list of about a third of the projects you can support. There's some astrophysics, there's some molecular biology, there's some numbers theory things, and on the right, there's just a list of what kind of computers they can use. Like they all can use Windows, a bunch of them can use Linux, a bunch of them can use Apple. And it's a way to kind of give back, if you will, while really costing you nothing and taking none of your time. And each of these projects come up with periodic updates for people who are helping them out. So that's the easiest way to help out in science. Probably the next easiest way is variable star measurement, which I'll be talking about for a bit here. So why observe variable stars? It's because data is important. With variable star data, you can determine, or the professionals at least, people know the math and physics, mass, radius, luminosity, composition, distance, rotational rate, etc. But they need data. Are there a lot of variable stars? Absolutely. So this graphic shows the Orion Nebula. And all of these other designations around it are variable stars. There are a ton of them. Now the Orion Nebula is also a star-forming region. So it has a lot. But routinely, in almost any field of view you're looking at, with if it's a half-degree field of view or larger through your telescope, you're seeing at least one variable star. So the big question is, what do you need to image some of these and save the data for researchers? And the answer is not all that much. A digital camera and computer, almost don't care what camera. It could be one of these new slick $3,000 a pop digital cameras, or it could be a cell phone. There have been a few papers written out there about using just a plain cell phone to do variable star imaging. They're really no different than a DSLR or a mirrorless camera. I mean, their sensors are smaller and all that, but essentially they're the same thing. Some people have what they call EV scopes out there. There's little automated telescopes that you run off of your handsets. They're useful for variable star photometry and exoplanet imaging. But if you don't want to invest in anything or don't have that capability, if you become an AAVSO member, and we'll talk more about that later, you get free access to over 10 telescope cameras and camera systems worldwide to image variable stars, northern and southern hemisphere, down to magnitude 19 or so. Of course, Hans Stoffel, there's no such thing as a free lunch. So, you do have to end up learning a little bit. Images need to be saved non-compressed. JPEGs aren't good. RAWs or raw or FITS images are. And again, any camera can generate those. If you use a color camera like a cell phone or DSLR, you've got to basically what's called debayer it, the image, which is to split it into its individual red, green, and blue images. But there's free software to do that. It's pretty easy. Images must be calibrated to remove lens and telescope vignetting. Again, there's free software to help with all that, and it's pretty easy. A tracking mount is good to use because depending on how faint you're going, it may take a couple minutes to do your imaging, and star trails are not good. But you don't want to use too long in exposures. The star images can't be saturated. For any variable star imaging, we use what's called differential photometry. Fancy word, which means you're comparing the brightness of a variable star to the brightness of another non-varying star with a known brightness in the same field of view. I hate to say it, but the professionals need to make up fancy terms. And in a lot of fields of view, you can actually image multiple variable stars. There's a few stars I observed. There's one star I observed in the Pleiades. And because of that, so the Pleiades, most of the Pleiades are variables. I end up submitting data on 15 other variables around my target star. So I'm not sure if you guys can see this well. This is off of some AVSO software. I'm showing one of my target stars here, another target star there, and here and there are my comparison stars. There's software out there to pick those up by themselves and do the analysis by themselves. This is looking a close-up of one star. You see these concentric circles around it. There's a small concentric circle around the star I'm imaging to just pick up how bright the star is. And then there's what we call an exclusion zone and another bigger circle where we are just measuring the sky background. So you could subtract out just the sky background, just so you don't care if it's all that bright or super dark or whatever. And by the way, if people have questions, please feel free to just, interject, okay? But, fundamentally, that's it. So how do you get to learn the detailed steps? AAVSO offers free manuals, mentors, online videos to help get you going, including for non-members. You don't have to be a member in order to download our observing manuals, which teach you how to do it, or participate in our forums, which help, where people can ask questions, you can get good answers. There's online training classes. You don't have to be a member to take. There's also, I assume most of you folks know Cloudy Nights. There's a Cloudy Nights scientific amateur astronomy forum that's a great place to learn from as well. A bunch of people post observations, questions, answers to technical questions, etc. One question I hear a lot is, will anybody actually use the data I generate? And I guess the answer is yes, absolutely. So AAVSO sends out weekly notices of people accessing data you submitted. I submit, on a typical week, I submit about 40 images, or data from 40 images to the database. And again, I've been doing this for a bit. So I'm looking at a relatively lot of stars, but typically one professional or student downloads data sets that I contributed to every week. It didn't start out that way. It was only one every 2 or 3 weeks, but still, people are, the professionals, are happy to get the data. And 2 or 3 times a month, researchers reach out to AAVSO and ask members to follow certain stars at particular times. Often these researchers are using Hubble Space Telescope or the James Webb Telescope or one of the other orbiting space telescopes, and they're scheduled to observe a certain set of stars at certain times, and for very short periods of time. And they ask the amateur community to please follow these same stars right before, during, and after their observing time periods. It really helps them know what's going on. And I got to tell you, I'm in this for the jazz as much as anything. As an amateur astronomer, it is really cool to get an email from a professional astronomer at the University of Leiden in Belgium, thanking me for observing a star they follow and suggesting other stars that they're interested in that I might want to follow. And the only thing better than that was having a professional send me an email asking if I wanted to be listed as a co-author on a paper they're writing because my data contributed to the paper. And actually, he finished his paper and it's been submitted to the American Astronomical Society. And once it's accepted, it'll be published and my name will be on it. Granted, I'll be at the end of the list of people who are authors, but that's okay. So I've had both of these things happen, and I've been doing this for about 4 years. The professional thanking me for observing their star actually happened in the first year I was observing. And the paper one happened like 2 months ago. So can I do this without having a telescope or camera or having easy access? Yes. If you're a member of AAVSO, we have a thing called AAVSO Net, where you submit a one-page, takes 10 minutes to make. Okay, the first one takes a half an hour because you'll be agonizing over it. The next one takes 10 minutes. Submit a observing proposal. 1 or more telescopes gets assigned to supply you with images. And you're alerted by email when the images are available. Using AAVSONet, I've submitted over 20,000 variable star measurements in 4 years. I have an observatory in my backyard, but I don't use it to do this. I don't bother trying to calibrate it and all that. I use these other scopes that are available. And there's a bunch of observing time, I hate to say it, but going to waste. We only use about 75% of the time we have on these telescopes. So AAVSONet, like I mentioned, it's a collection of automated telescope systems. Across the whole network, they take about 15,000 images per month. It's run by AAVSO volunteers for, AAVSO member benefits. Northern, Southern Hemisphere, we've got some small wide field system, like 180 millimeter aperture. And we've got some narrow field, larger instruments, half a meter plus out there. And actually, images are calibrated before you even see them, before they're automatically sent to you. It's a very nice, easy to use system. The cost, AAVSO membership, that's it. Unlike iTelescope or any of the telescope rental services, there's no hourly fee or anything. With the amount of observing I do, my cost, including AAVSO membership, is about $1 per imaging hour, which is less than I put into my own backyard observatory. So I think it's pretty reasonable. 2 system types, bright star monitors, which are Takahashi Epsilon 180 astrographs. These are good to about 15th magnitude. Each system costs around a little north of $20,000. Large field of view, 1 by 1.5 degrees. Then the faint star monitors are 20-inch or 24-inch instruments, and small fields of view, but they're located also both in the northern and southern hemispheres. This is kind of a map of where we are. We have a number of telescopes down here in the southwest, including one, by the way, in the hill country of Texas. not far from Austin. We've got one up in New Hampshire, several in Australia, and one down in New Zealand. And we're looking to place some others. This is a Bright Star Monitor Takahashi 180 Epsilon on a Paramount mount. This is in, let's see, OC 61 centimeter Cassegrain in New Zealand, I believe. This is what we call MPO 61. This is down in the hill. This is a 61 centimeter, system down in the hill country of Texas. Using the net is easy. You become a member, you submit a proposal. There's a telescope allocation committee that reviews it. They might go back and forth with you once or twice with questions. When approved, time is allocated on the appropriate scopes. The images are taken, emails sent to you, let you know it's available. You analyze it and submit it. So you're not running the telescope. These are automatically run telescopes. You are making the proposal and taking the data. So projects I have, some of them are V1117 Hercules. It's what's called an UXOR variable, has a rotating gas and dust cloud obscuring the star, and the obscuration varies over time. I have a couple other young stellar objects, UXORs and T-Tauri variables. I'm watching NSV 6690, which is an active galactic nucleus that seems to have or a pair of black holes rotating around each other at its core. And there's a research team out of China that believes they're going to merge in the next year. So I'm periodically taking images of those. BU Taurus, it's an eruptive irregular variable. Also looking at an X-ray black hole binary, V0616 Vulpecula. So there's plenty of things that I'm observing. I tend to go with things that might go boom. So this is our data, AVSO data on V1117 Hercules from before 2010 up to 2019. And you can see for a long time, it was pretty regular. Period of about 400 days. Oh, the different colored dots mean different observation types. The open circles are visual. The green dots are with a green filter, blue dots with blue, red dots with red filter, and pinkish dots are with infrared filter. So it was being fairly regular for a lot of years. And I don't know what happened. People are still trying to figure it out. But this is the last couple of years. It just went crazy. There were some time periods here where it would go from minimum brightness to minimum brightness in between 1 and 2 weeks, where it used to be 400 days. And it's also very irregular. See the bottom peaks are pretty irregular. The top highest magnitudes are irregular. Don't know what's going on, but it's clear. But every time I get an image of it, I go and look at this plot to see what happened in the last day or two. Once you're familiar with variable star imaging, taking pictures, one picture, 2 pictures of a variable star field, exoplanet observation opens up. So exoplanets are just planets orbiting other stars. You can't see variability or anything by eye, but if the planet transits across the host star, you can measure the change in brightness, just like variable stars. But instead of doing 1 or 2, generally people will take a few hundred images during one whole transit. The professionals are the ones who tend to first identify exoplanets, but they can't take the time to keep watching over multiple cycles to really hone in on what the orbit is, what the transit times, durations are. But we can do that with small telescopes and cameras. Some people even use just a DSLR camera with telephoto lenses. One thing AAVSO does do is we maintain the database of exoplanet observations for NASA. It's under a NASA contract. And there's a ton of exoplanets, and many have more than one planet revolving around them. There's over 5,300 have been confirmed so far. So we can only see the ones where the planets pass directly in front of their star from our vantage point. And they come in all sizes and orbit orientation, some with Earth-sized planets and some planets with many times the size of Jupiter. So most of the planets they've discovered are called hot Jupiters. So if this is the star, we have a large gas giant orbiting very closely to the star. Some have multiple planets. Some planets orbit their star, in a multiple star system. I was being a little redundant there. Oh, binary star with a planet going around one of the stars. Some are just free-floating planets. A few have planet orbits that are opposite that of the star rotation, which is a little weird. And some planets are disintegrating around their host star. They're being pulled apart and will eventually end up being just a ring of dust around a star. So the study of these things help the professionals answer, is the planet rocky? Can it support liquid water? Does it have an atmosphere? Does the atmosphere have biosignatures that give us high confidence that life could exist? And they rely on us amateur astronomers and citizen scientists to help answer some of these questions, or at least get them data so they can answer these questions. And again, the dominant method used is transit method. As a planet goes in front of the star dims a little bit and then gets brighter again. They can learn a lot from the light curve of this thing, the duration, how the size of the planets, from how deep the occultation is, the curve here from the bottom, bottom magnitude to its brightest, gives us information on the size of the planet. And we helped confirm that a transit event occurs, refine the center point, the period, determine the depth, and therefore the radius, help rule out false positives. There have been a bunch. Also help determine if there are other undiscovered planets around a given star that has one known planet. And again, observers are invited as co-authors on paper if they use your data. So again, as a citizen scientist, NASA has citizen science programs, test planet hunters, which reviews data of exoplanets. If you have access to your own telescopes, there's the Exoplanet Watch Project and the Test Follow-Up Observing Project. So there's several different ways to contribute in this. Now, there's another relatively easy way I wanted to bring up, but I'm only honestly just learning more about it. That's unistellar science imaging. So there's these telescopes you can buy from a company called Unistellar. They're small automated telescopes for imaging only. They're small. It's a 4.5-inch diameter parabolic mirror down at one end. And then up at the other end, there's an image sensor. There's motors for altitude and azimuth. And you control these things from your cell phone or Chromebook. So one of the cool things Unistellar does is they actually fund several scientists, like I think the number's 5 now, to find projects for Unistellar users. They have exoplanet transit projects, some comet observations, near Earth orbit asteroid observations they're looking for, whatever. The observers use their unistellar scopes and send data images to Unistellar, where these scientists analyze the data and write and publish papers using it. The only downsides to this are they're relatively expensive. I think the least expensive telescope, when not on sale, is about a little over $2,500. And they have some size and imaging limitations. The sensors aren't cooled, so it's a little bit noisy. But I'll tell you, I have one in my cellar. I'm actually going to be writing a review for Sky and Telescope of one of these, and they are very easy to use. On the first night of me just plugging it in and accessing it with my cell phone, I was able to generate some pretty decent images, even in twilight conditions and pretty bright suburban conditions. So it's pretty cool. So this is one of the pages from the Unistellar website. So it's your science programs. And if you click on any of these 5 topics, you can come up with what they're currently looking for. There's cosmic cataclysms, asteroids, comets, exoplanets, and what they call planetary defense, which is near Earth orbit asteroids. And they come up with new projects on a monthly basis. It's a pretty cool system. Like, so from get-go, you know, you can be generating and sending in, contributing, you know, useful science images. Another opportunity I'd like to mention is similar to AAVSO. It's called the Center for Backyard Astrophysics. And this is run out of Columbia University, New York. And they basically have cataclysmic variable stars. They suggest people to observe at certain times. And researchers out of Columbia use the data generated for their papers. It's a pretty cool system. There's one thing I really like about CBA is there's a lot of back and forth between the observers and the researchers. Observers can ask questions, and the researchers are very willing to, you know, answer your questions and really help people get on board and help them generate useful data. So that's another really cool source. There's no membership or anything for CBA. So, you know, a small plug for the AAVSO. We're an international organization of astronomers with pro-am collaborations. We have an archive of observations. It's 111 years old now. So if you want to know what the star Myra looked like 110 years ago, we've got your data. We publish a journal of the AAVSO on variable stars. We have tools, training, and other support resources to help members and non-members conduct science grade observations. And we have an annual meeting. Last annual meeting was in Tucson. This year's will be in the Boston area. And they're starting last year, in addition to being in person, they're also virtual, much like your meetings are. And we have different sections, forums, if you will, to provide training courses, guides, alerts, you know, to help the community. So, and kind of in conclusion, we've got a special offer tonight for Fort Worth Astronomical Society members. We're offering a reduced membership rate of $40 for a first year versus $95, which is what I pay. If you're interested, we have an email address to reach out to in the next couple of weeks to take advantage of that discount, and that'll get you going. Click to exit.
Great. Well, I was wondering if anybody had any questions.
I'm hoping they do. I'm not hearing snores. That's good.
Yeah,
Can you
I
put
have
that link
one.
back up?
So
I'm sorry, what?
what got you interested in variable stars?
So I've known about the AAVSO since the 1960s, when I first got involved in astronomy as a kid. But I just never did anything with it. And a number of my local astronomy club members have been observers or are observers for AAVSO and have been officers in AAVSO. And then honestly, pretty much simultaneously, I retired and COVID hit. And one of the things AAVSO did was offer all of the classes they teach through COVID at no cost to anybody, member or non-member. So I was looking for something to do, and it was like, well, I've known about these folks for years, decades. So I'm going to take a couple classes, and I ended up taking like 3 classes, and ended up finding it worthwhile. I joined in order to use the AAVSO net telescopes, and 3 years later, they were desperate enough to ask if I'd want to run for the board. So, so somebody asked about what the email address is for Kathy. Bill, you have my presentation in PDF. If you could share that with your group, that will get you that on the very last page.
Absolutely.
Thank you, sir. You're quite kind.
Do you have a question from the?
We also have a brand new executive director we've hired. So AAVSO isn't like most astronomy clubs. So you folks have a slate of officers and they're all volunteers. My club has a slate of officers. We're all volunteers. AAVSO is, we have a paid executive director and 5 paid staff members because somebody has to keep the database going, has to get information out to users about new projects the professionals need help with. So we rent space in Cambridge, Mass, just outside of Boston. Again, 5 staff members and 1 executive director. The executive director, he's brand new to us. I wasn't involved in hiring him. I was made a board member after he came on, but I am pleased as punch they hired him because he started his career as a astronomy PhD student. He has his PhD in astrophysics. He went and did the professor thing for a while. I hope there's no professors out there. I'm not trying to demean them, but there's a certain person that becomes a professor. So he did that for a while. While he was doing that, he was an amateur astronomer. And he still has a C8 telescope he uses on his on the deck of his condo for his observations. And he's teaching his 8-year-old daughter basic astronomy. He's a cool guy. And then somewhere in the middle there, he also spent some time in private industry, which is good because I'm kind of prejudiced this way. I spent my whole career in industry, either in semiconductor chip design, in sales, and also semiconductor processing equipment design and marketing. And it's a totally different mindset being out in industry than it is being an academic. So this guy has had not only academic experience, but then commercial experience, and he's a longtime amateur astronomer. So he's got the whole package, is I guess the way I'd put it.
Are there
Any other questions out there? Come on. Anybody snoring? Bueller?
Yeah, hey, Peter, my name's Brandon. Hey, really enjoyed your presentation. I learned a lot of things from you tonight. I wanted to ask you a question. Your society has like their top award named after one of my favorite authors, our Starlight Nights by Leslie Peltier.
Absolutely.
And so my question
I love
to
his
you,
works.
I mean, a little starlight does the soul some good. That's my takeaway line from that book. Anyway, my question to you is, obviously Leslie did all of his observations visually, And you didn't really
Yes.
speak about that tonight. Are there still applications for those of us who are visual-only astronomers?
Yeah, there are, but I hate to say it, but they're kind of closing in a bit. It used to be up until 10 years ago, pretty much all observations were visual. Now, with the number of survey telescopes and assets that the professionals have, a lot of the visual data isn't good enough. And the problem being, so like, again, 10 years ago, as a visual variable star astronomer, you'd submit the magnitude of SS Cygni or what have you, and it'd be good to plus and minus a tenth or maybe a 2/10 of a magnitude as an estimate. Now they're looking for, in most cases, they're looking for data at the 0.01 to 0.02 magnitude level. And it's really tough to do that visually. Now, the area still maintains a lot of relevancy is in cataclysmic variables. So that's like a double star where one star is losing mass to another one. And eventually as mass builds up enough, so there's like basically a huge nuclear explosion and it goes really bright in an almost unpredictable way. Being able to just, look after some of these cataclysmic variables is like, yes, it's dim, or yes, it's bright, and reporting on that is useful.
Okay, any other questions?
Well, again, guys, folks, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for having me. If you come up to Stellafane in Vermont or come up to the greater Boston area, please feel free to look me up. Always love to meet an amateur astronomer. Sadly, I haven't been to the Dallas-Fort Worth area in probably 12 years or so, but I used to spend a good amount of time in Richardson and Arlington and such, and also down in Austin in the semiconductor industry. That's a great industry for you folks, and TI is one of my favorite companies ever.
One final question.
Sure.
How much data, from database perspective, are we talking about? So
As far as what?
111 years worth of data consumes how much space?
Well, okay, so the data is, for the most part, just magnitude data. So it includes magnitude estimates of the comparison stars and magnitude estimate of the variable star. And I think at the end of the day, we're talking 4 or 5 terabytes of data. It isn't all that much. Now we're storing big CCD and CMOS imager data. And each of those images, let's say you do one in IR, one in red, one in blue, or green, one in blue. Each of those images is 50 megabytes in size. So the amount of data being stored now for new observations is, many orders of magnitude higher than that of the old visual days, where everything was visual. Good question. Thank you.
Okay, we have the one and last question for the evening here from the electronic crowd. And it's so small, it's hard for me to read.
This is from Jimmy in the Zoom. It's my question is, if a exoplanet has an orbit that takes 4 or 5 or more years, it seems like the data on that star would be pretty boring until a transit happens.
I agree. The good news is there's over 5,300 exoplanets known, and on any given evening, there's going to be 2, 3, 4 or more transits someplace in the sky. I didn't put the link up, but you could find it easily enough, I think. Swarthmore College has like an index of all known exoplanets, known and suspected exoplanets. And they actually, you can put in your latitude, longitude, and time zone, and they'll give you a set of predictions for every exoplanet observable by you each night. One of the tricky things on exoplanets, though, is how small the variability in the brightness is. If you're talking about a hot Jupiter, which is a relatively large planet going around close to a medium-sized star, the variability can be 50 or 80 millimags, so 50 or 80 thousandths of a magnitude. But if you're talking about something the size of Mercury going around a giant star, it can be 2 millimagnitudes, and those are extremely difficult to see. The noise, just the noise in your system swamps it. Was that helpful?
All right, thank you so much. It's good to see you again, and
Anytime.
really appreciate you.
What are you guys raffling?
Absolutely, thank you so much.
What are you raffling?
Books. What is that? A bag of chips? It's a box of chips and space books.
Well,
Wish
I'm
you
sorry,
were
Doc.
here.
Yeah, you don't want me there, guys. You don't want me there. So one of the big things is Stellophane every year is their raffle. They raise money for the next conference through raffles, and their major contributor is Al Nagler. He donates 3 bags of eyepieces every year. I've won that a couple times, so you don't want me there. Hey, you guys have a good night. If you don't mind, I'm going to listen in.
Absolutely.
Put it on
Yeah,
mute.
sure. Well,
Yeah.
thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me. I do appreciate it. If anybody has any other questions or comments and such, again, I'm sorry, I was stupid. I didn't put my email address in my presentation, but Bill certainly has it, and feel free to reach out with any kind of questions or to tell me what kind of horrible speaker I was.
I'll put your contact information with your presentation.
Thank you so much.
On our message board.
It was an oversight on my part. Okay.
All
Good
right,
night, folks.
thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so let's take a 7-minute break. Buy your raffle tickets, take a break, and come back.
Watch your eyes.
I didn't do it. I have to send you a card. I'm in touch with Hey, Jerry, how are you? Jerry, hello? Hey, can I call you back? I'm in the middle of it. It's okay, no problem. Thanks for doing it. Hi. I was Didn't I call this number in the last meeting?
I doubt it very seriously.
2950669.
0669, that's this one right here.
Miss Michelle.
Yeah, there's fire in each one of those packs of screws. And I think there's two in
2950671. 2950671.
Oh, yeah, that's me again.
Disqualified. Are you kidding me? 2950716. Christian Pensick. And no, you can't take John's two great Texan eclipses. That woke John up. Two 2950706.
No takers on 0706.
Pardon?
No takers on 0706. Oh, okay, very good.
There you go. Do you have 702?
We actually probably do over there, I think so. 702? Yeah, we have that too.
Disqualified, my favorite word. Two 2950679. Two 2950676. And that concludes the raffle, Mr. Tom Roth. Okay, one of the really cool parts of the show is Mr. Bill Hall's What's in the Sky this month, and he always does a great job.
Thank you. I'm here with my handy Hotech. Since I don't have anything to collimate or no purpose to anyway. So here we go. This is the space stuff for the next month. And I wanted to put it on the cover of this one because Mr. Stephen Kennedy has gotten his second NASA astronomy picture of the day with this beautiful image of the Shark Nebula. Shout out. All right, next slide. Okay, so a month or two ago, I warned about comets that are actually going to be getting brighter in the sky between now and the beginning of 2024. And a couple of them are starting to hit that point this coming month in July. So they're not periodic comets. We've got 2023 E1, which is discovered by Atlas. It's going to be basically going around the pole for the entire month at 14 degrees or less from Polaris. And we got 2021 T4, which was discovered by Lemon Observatory, and that one's early morning to dawn in the southern sky. So next slide. So that's the big news, is the newly discovered supernova in M101. This is actually another image taken by Stephen Kennedy. And this one was discovered in May of this year. And one of the things that I want to say about actually this whole presentation here is actually going off the coattails of Peter Belo's presentation. The theme here, when I started putting this presentation together here, the theme is very relevant. Koichi Itagaki is a Japanese amateur astronomer. An amateur discovered this. So it's kind of cool. It's a type 2 supernova, which is the core collapse. And yeah, it's still going on, but thought it pretty cool to find out that a guy that owns a business that markets peanuts, discovered this in his free time. Next slide. Oh, and then there's the full moon, our least favorite phase. He's going to be up on Monday, July 3rd, competing with the fireworks. Next slide. And then there's the new moon, and that occurs on Monday, July 17th. So, next slide. It's really kind of an uneventful month, celestially speaking. I do want to say is that if there's anything that you think I've missed, you can go stuff yourself. No, seriously, if there's anything that do you know how much time I'm looking for stuff? No, if you find anything that is something that I've missed, or maybe things that you'd like me to include in here that are of interest, let me know. Given that, the constellation that crosses the median 2 weeks from now, 2 hours after astronomical night, one of the constellations is Lyra. And we've got the genitive name of Lyrae. And it's 9 stars in this constellation with known planets. A couple of the stars you might have heard before: Chiliac, Vega. Anyone? Got 2 Messier objects. It's an ancient constellation. It was first cataloged by Ptolemy in the 2nd century. And actually, something that I didn't know is that the Kepler telescope had a fixed field of view. It was only for its entire mission looking at an area that included Lyra, Draco, and Cygnus. So, fun fact, something I didn't know. Next slide. So the Lyrids, which actually just happened a couple months ago in April, we talked about this back then. It peaks on the 23rd of April. It's actually the oldest known modern meteor shower. The Chinese actually recorded it in 687 BC. And a little fun fact about this one. Come on, don't fail me now. Really? Yeah, I'm going to blind myself. You'll notice that the radiant is actually outside of the official IAU boundary of Lyra. It's because that the radiant was associated with Vega, and of course this was way before, because it was like in the 20s or something that the IAU made the constellation boundaries. Since there weren't any constellation boundaries, it was just called the Lyrids because it was associated with Vega, and there weren't any boundaries. So now you know. But the technically speaking, the radiant is actually in Hercules. Next slide. Okay, so there's Vega. So this was actually established as the basis of the magnitude system at magnitude 0. And the fun fact about this is that Polaris was actually originally the one that was identified as the basis at magnitude 2 until it was discovered that Polaris is a variable star. So one more connection with the AVSO there. Next slide. So then there's the double-double. So this is actually, it's a multiple star system. We've got actually there's 4 bright stars. They're all about the same brightness. They're actually within a few tenths of a magnitude from each other. You've got basically 2 stars here, and you've got there's basically 2 stars that are orbiting each other and 2 stars that are orbiting each other, and they're both orbiting each other. So there's 2 systems orbiting each other. And in '85, they actually found a 5th component that's orbiting around the binary, this binary right here. So kind of cool, but when you hear about the double-double, this is what they're talking about. Next slide. And now you see it a little bigger. I forgot that this did this. Next slide. The Ring Nebula. So this is a planetary nebula. It's a dying red giant that's becoming a white dwarf. It's shedding its stuff. It's in between our 2 little stars right here. I think the big one right here is Chiliac. Next slide. This is actually my picture. This was actually my first light with my C11. Oh no, it was my first light with my 6200, and it was a quick and dirty picture. But the cool thing about this is that it's so bright that it didn't take a whole lot of exposure to get this great color. I asked my wife. I was like, "All right, what's my first light gonna be? You pick it." And she was like, "Ring Nebula." So here we are. It's a bipolar planetary nebula. So it is basically the shape of an hourglass, and we are looking down the top of it, or the bottom. So we can't actually see the hourglass shape, but there are, like the Helix Nebula is actually a good example of seeing one of these bipolars at a bit of an oblique shape, or an oblique angle, so that you can actually see that hourglass shape a bit. And this is what the Hubble sees. So we won't go back to my picture. The one thing I was very pleased about is the fact that my picture also has the white dwarf, which is that little guy right in the middle there. That's the little star that's making this whole mess here. And if you're in dark enough skies, you can actually pick out a little bit of color, especially in the green end. Next slide. Okay, so another connection to AVSO is RR Lyrae. So RR Lyrae is what they call the prototype for a class of variable stars. So there's a certain set of parameters that basically characterize this variable star, and they identified this one to be, hey, it's the brightest one of this type of variable star, and so this is basically what they identify as kind of the template or the prototype for all variable stars of this type. They're old metal poor stars. They're usually in globular clusters, but just like every other variable, they act in one way or another as standard candles that help us identify distances. Next slide. And here's actually the variability. The period is a 13.5-hour cycle where it actually goes 0.8 magnitudes, and is a very regular and reliable variable. Next slide. Then there's M56. So this is a nice little. This is the other Messier object in Lyra, and it's an old, like a lot of globular clusters are. It's a very old globular, and the interesting thing about this guy, if you'll go to the next slide. This is Robert Cargill's handiwork right here. The thing about this cluster is that the properties of it, as far as its motion, it may have been acquired during the merger of a dwarf galaxy. Like the Milky Way got this by consuming a dwarf galaxy, and they think that Omega Centauri is the actual nucleus from that galaxy. So this might be another little relic of that consumption, and it's a part of a thing. I love these names that they come up with. That it's a part of what they call the Gaia sausage. So there you go. Next slide. And then we've got what I think it's right up here next to Vega. You got to go to the next slide here. Why they're not calling this the Birdhead Galaxy, I don't know, but it's really actually pretty dramatic. It's actually a triplet of galaxies, and they're actually colliding. This isn't something where they've been captured. They've captured each other with coming into proximity with each other and starting to circle or anything like that. What they see with this disaster right here is that these are actually directly colliding galaxies. And you can see all these hot blue stars. This is all starburst activity from the collision of the gas with each of the galaxies. Okay, so next slide. All right, so these are my sources. There's about 42 good deep sky objects in Lyra. theskylive.com and constellation-guide.com. A couple of great sources for finding out more about both the star systems and the objects in this fine little constellation. And next slide. So this is a picture by Robert Sirkis. This is North American and Pelican nebulae. It's the shape of North America there, and the Pelican down here. And keep looking up.
Thanks, Bill. I always enjoy these presentations because I scrolled down what I'm going to hit next. So thanks very much. Yeah. Guard your eyes, folks. I don't understand why they don't have a dimmer switch. Okay, so we're going to jump right into the business portion of the meeting. And we're going to first talk about outreach. I'm going to talk about a pretty exciting event that we did actually last week. I think it was last week. I could be wrong. But we did a program for the HEB school district for their summer school. And it's very interesting what they've done. They've got a 4-week summer school session. The first 2 weeks was solar, the second 2 weeks, I don't know. But Dr. Laura Allen has asked us to help them out, and they're changing their program from drill and kill, is what they call it, to where this particular summer school session, they were building dioramas of the solar system. So they asked us to come out and do a solar event for them. And we went to 4 different elementary schools in the HEB school district, and approximately 400 kids were able to view through solar scopes to the sun. Chris Malicki, table rubble for a tremendous presentation that he gave electronically. And it was great. It's an example of some of the things that we can do in the future. 4 schools flawlessly, and it was very well received. The sun didn't play nice with us where Chris was and at the school that Danny, Arthur, and myself were at. And Dr. Harrington, who is the superintendent of the school district, was there. And from the time that we finished up and before I got home, I had an email asking us, the Fort Worth Astronomical Society, to handle their total eclipse program. So this is a school district with 15,000 kids in it, and it's just, as y'all know, outreach is important to me, and I think it was just awesome. We had a tremendous group of folks help out. Patrick was there, Juan Martinez was there, Ted Smith was there, and I'm drawing a blank. John Germini was also at Bell Manor. I believe you met Dr. Harrington? Yep. So I think I'm missing somebody, but it was just an outstanding event, and that's what we're all about. So. We had Tandy Hills, right, John? I'm going to get my exercise in.
Our monthly Tandy Hill Star Party is this coming Saturday, the 24th, and it is our first Star Party of the summer. And it is going to be miserable out there, probably, if the past few days would be any indication. I always like to tell new people that are here, people that have new telescopes that want to learn how to use them. People have telescopes that they've had sitting around and just need some help with them. Bring it on out. We'd be glad to help everybody with them. So it'll be this coming Saturday. We're going to open the gates at 6 o'clock for solar viewing. If anybody wants it earlier, just let me know. And so we'll see you out there at Tandy Hills.
Thank you, John. And Patrick he runs our outreach program, and he's got a few comments.
Okay, so the other day we got a package from the Night Sky Network. Apparently they've been impressed with our outreach program, so they sent us a bunch of NASA pictures here, so if you guys want to check out before you leave. Stuff we can distribute to star parties or schools or whatever. So we don't have a whole lot on the star party schedule coming up. Let's see, next Friday we got one at the Benbrook Library, and then on July 10th, we go back down to Stevens Ranch where we had a star party last night. We got another one for the Girl Scout groups. In fact, if you look over here on the table, this is what we went home with. Feel free to grab some on the way out. First come, first serve. But yeah, that's kind of a nice little bonus. Sometimes we get that. It's a great group. They come in. They group them in ages, they bring them out, well organized, really nice spot out there. I'd say it's probably about as dark as the Thompson Foundation, so it's pretty good if the skies are good. And then after that, hold on a second. After that, we got a star party in Northlake on July 15th. This is a reschedule from all that May clouds, so hopefully we can get that in. And as usual, I will post these on the e-group, and I appreciate all your help. Thanks.
Thanks, Patrick. Patrick does a hell of a job. It's not easy managing all these events. Okay. Michelle, you have anything?
Actually, I'm going to defer to Bruce.
Bruce?
There you go. Thank you. Very good. So I just have a short presentation to make to give you an update on what's been happening at the dark sky site, as we know as Rising Star. So let's go to the first meat of the potatoes. At the last couple of meetings that we've had here, you can go to the next slide when you had a chance. We've had some good questions from the group on how much things are costing out at the dark sky site for all the projects that the committee has been working on. So with the data that I got from John, I split it out to what each project cost. Well, the first thing that we wanted to do was get that building up, and that took the lion's share of the money at over $5,000. And then we put in our gate for just under $682. And then once you have a gate, you have to connect it to the road. So we hired a company to come do the dirt work for us at about $1,000. And then we had to get from the gate to the observing field. So we had to go through the trees. So we built what I'm calling now a tree lane for $625. And then over a course of 6 months, club members cleared the observing field of cactus and small mesquite trees at zero cost, other than their blood, sweat, and tears, and several sore muscles. And then there were some irregular surfaces on the observing field, and we used that same skid steer to level it out for $375. And then we reinstalled the excuse me, the solar panels that we used to have at Star Ranch, and also put red lights to use in the evenings or at night in the green building for just over $300. Now, the remaining high priority projects that we have is a fence project with an estimated cost of $5,700. And then we're going to put a culvert in at our entrance at just about $1,000. And then the last thing that we have on our list that we want to get done in the near future is build a storage building or have it built. And it could be a storage container that's converted, or we just haven't come up with the requirements yet, nor any clear path to getting that done. So I just want to bring you up to date on what we're doing now. So on the last slide that I have, the next one, I'm sending out field condition reports, and I'm doing this right before people might be thinking to go out to Rising Star for the new moon. And I'm including pictures to give people an idea or reminder of why we have a dark sky site. I'm really impressed with the amount of grass that has grown on the tree lane. Once we remove the trees and that soil started to get sunlight, the grass grew. And you can see to the right and to the left, we still have additional land to mow, but we're working on that. But our goal is to, every time you visit Rising Star, you have the same experience when you're on the observing field. You don't have to deal with weeds, you don't have to deal with tall grass. It's mowed and ready for you to come out there. And if we can keep up with it, I think just goes to the enjoyment of a site that can bring you so much pleasure. So, any questions? Oh. Any questions? All right, thank you.
Thanks, Bruce. And there's one opening on this board. So if you have an interest in working on the development committee, you can see any of the board members after the meeting, or send an email to info@fortworthastro.com. Tom Palapinto.
Basically, the trail work stopped until the fall. We cleared 3 miles of trails out of 12. They're working on the roads, trying to get those in. All the utilities have been run out to the state park. They're going to start working on the vertical structures as we speak. So things are moving along. The open date's going to be probably at least mid-2024 to get everything going the way they want to. And I think they've shifted us maybe from one part of the park to where we had the original star parties when they first opened up, because there's better or more darkness there. So everything's clicking. So.
Thanks. see here. Our annual club party at 3RF. I happened to be up there volunteering this past weekend. It's quite an experience. They had me helping to run the Conley Observatory with big 15-inch refractor. And I was so paranoid that thing was going to hit the pier, it wasn't even funny. So the dates, and I want to put it to a vote. The dates they have available are 18-19 August, which is a Friday, Saturday, and November 17-18, which is also a Friday, Saturday. 17-18 is the weekend before Thanksgiving. So just want to point that out. And so, Michelle, you guys were up there in August last year, right? July. So, any preference?
What were the dates again, please?
Pardon? August 18, 19, or, which both dates are Friday, Saturday, or November 17, 18. Yeah, it does have longer nights. The one drawback that comes to my mind is it's the weekend before Thanksgiving. So, yeah, so. I'm sorry? It was pretty hot. I can tell you it was pretty hot Friday and Saturday, but it chilled off Sunday night. It was damn near comfortable. So yeah, it's a great place. You know, if you get super hot, you can go into the cottage or the bunkhouses. How many folks here prefer August? Anybody online? Keep your hands up, please. November? I guess August. I have to call back Katie tomorrow. So, yeah. The other opportunity is if they might work with us on a different date, but we would have to commit to volunteering during one of their events. So, which seems interesting to me, but okay. So, the August date is what I'll call Katie tomorrow and get that booked. And who's that? Oh, Michelle. She was the lady that organized it last year. If you could send me. If you could, I will call Katie tomorrow and let her know. And then if you can take care of the rest of it, that would be awesome. Because I'm sure you've got all your crib notes from last year. Awesome. Thank you very much. Okay. Any announcements from any folks here? I'm going to be a granddad again. So, yeah, found out it's going to be a boy, and I can tell you that there are no girls in my family. I've not produced any, and none of my kids have. So, anyway, yeah, it's exciting. Yes, Tom?
I'd like to acknowledge Bruce Campbell for the amount of work he's done behind the scenes. I've worked work parties out with him when the club hasn't been during the week and stuff. This guy is working his ass off, and you need to round up applause.
Way to go, Bruce. Yep, I mention it to him every time I talk to him, and I probably talk to him twice a week. So he does a heck of a job out there. Okay, yeah, and you know, if you can help, it's going to be worth it. I like to say that the difference of the observing area now, as opposed to when we bought it, it's like the 18th green at Masters. That's how good it is. It's taken a lot of work and a lot of backbreaking work. So Bruce does a great job, and all the volunteers that go out there do a great job also. So it's a great place. And I think we'll turn it over to, is George Lutch online? George, do you have anything to report on the website?
Not since last time. It's still there. Haven't updated it probably in about a month.
Okay.
So, once we get ready to go live, though, just let me know, and we'll put all the relevant information in.
Okay.
That'll update to current date.
Okay. So, yeah.
I went through 50% of the site, noting every URL that is inaccurate, and there is a ton of them. And perhaps sometime before the 1st of August, I'll have the other 50% done.
Okay, is that on the new site or the old site or both?
Yes.
Okay. Work in progress. We'll get it sorted out. It'll be much better than it is now. So, okay, thanks, George. I'm going to quick time hand it over to Mr. John Giarmini, who is our treasurer, and he can give us the financial report. The big news, plus 200, at least for today.
Well, yes. So monetarily, we have eradicated the savings account. And the reason for that is there's a $10,000 minimum. You get charged $15 if it drops below that. We did, and we dropped the savings account. And I don't see us keeping a $10,000 buffer sitting like that. So right now, that is combined into our checking account, and we're going to create another checking account that we can use as a funding vehicle. But that's where we're at now. This 42 that you see on here is that combined total. We paid for Astronomical League based on 195 people. I'm waiting to see the invoice for the second part of the year here for the Health Science Center. And what Robert's talking about is this August payment for our current website. So yes, we do have 202 people. We had one person that signed yesterday. We have a person that just signed today. So it's actually sitting at 203, and from right now, what we'll end up with is somewhere around 165 people after the cleansing takes place. Yeah, unfortunately. It's the cliff, and if you'll drag the go down there, right there. So that part on the left is the cliff, and that's when that happens. But we've surpassed the bar for 200, and I'm just excited as all get out about that. So, and the rest of the information there is really just stats on how the members, the renewals were going. You can get some feel for how people pay checks versus Zelle. We're really doing a lot of Zelle, which is great for both of us because you don't pay and we don't pay. and it's instantaneous. There's no delay in getting the money. And I think that's it. Are there any questions? Anybody have any questions? Great.
Thank you, John. So it's just that summer membership holiday, I guess is the best way to describe it. But we're starting, you know, we got above 200 and we're starting at a higher place before school starts. And I did forget to mention that the HEB School District is going to be sending electronic circular out to each family in the school district to talk about us and let them know what we do and the cost for joining. So I think we may pick up some folks from that mailing. So it's very interesting to see what's going on. Infrastructure and marketing, I don't think we have anything to report there. So the next thing is the election. So can you put the election slide up? There should be a slide in there about who's running. Yes? No? Oh, I guess there isn't. I'm reliably informed that that slide is missing. I'm so sorry. Okay. It's election time. And so we'll just do executive board first. So the current executive board, that's myself as president, Bill Hall as vice president, Monica Merritt as secretary, and John Giormini as treasurer, would like to continue on for the next year. Well, yes and no, John. Okay. So, anybody interested?
I'm sorry, could you elaborate on that yes and no thing, please?
This is John's 5th year as treasurer. He does a freaking outstanding job at it, but it's his 5th year being treasurer, and he does really good. So while he can be treasurer for 5 years, he really wants to transition off. So this, we're working on that part of it. So what will happen is John, in addition to being treasurer, he's also the membership director. So he's doing an awful lot of work. So we want to John wants to transition off of being the treasurer and focus on membership. So.
Okay, so is there someone already lined up to take over treasurer or something?
To your right, yes, Jim Potts is. I think the plan is Jim Potts is also running for an open director, and over the next few months, Jim will work with John to see does he have time because as we know, John is a retired gentleman, so he has a little more free time than most of us. So we want to make sure that that Jim has the time to do that work. So. Does that help?
Okay, so to be precise, for treasurer, John is running again until he can.
Yes. Yeah. He's signing up for the 5th and final year. Well, I mean, the bylaws are 5 years max for the treasurer, and the purpose of that is for continuity. So. So what? So.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that. What?
I think John was trying to be funny. His last name isn't Sirkis, so his jokes sometimes fall on flat. So. You have more, you look like you have more questions, Matt. Do you want? Okay. So, show of hands, is there anybody here that wants to be treasurer, is willing to stand up and do that right now? Well, you have to be a member for a year, so. Anyway, okay. I'll make a motion that the executive board, by acclamation. All in favor? Wow. Okay, and then Jim Potts is, I make a motion that Jim Potts, who's he's a nice guy, he's organized. No, I mean, he's helped me out a lot, and I ask a lot of, to me, it seem sometimes inane questions, but he's patient, he's very helpful. I think he'll do a great job. So I make a motion that we vote by acclamation for James Potts as director. All in favor? So done. Awesome. Any other business, guys? Yes, Chris. Yes, Monica. We have one open director spot. Yeah, Zach Smith resigned. So, no, that's okay. Yeah. And I see Michelle chomping at the bit.
I thought you had said earlier that we had 2 open directors.
We do. So I think the board is going to appoint someone to fill Zach's.
So does anybody here want to?
I've asked. Anybody want to be a director?
It's one of the easiest positions on the board.
Right.
It allows you a chance to give your opinion on what's going on. The directors, every 2 years, 2 of those positions become available.
Oh, I'm already pissed off at me. I'll do it.
My name's Paul, and that's between y'all. So Chris is volunteer. I make a motion for Chris Malicki to, is there anybody else that's interested in being a director? Anybody online? Ted? Okay, so, okay. No, we can't afford to lose this guy any way, shape, or form. I make a motion that Ted Smith is voted as director by acclamation. All in favor? Okay. Welcome Ted Smith as a director. All right. Any other announcements or Chris's? Man, I thought we were going to get out of here on time.
Give me. Okay. All right, I'll go fast because I got to pack up too. Juan and I went out to the Central Texas Astronomical Society, the Waco Club, this past weekend. We learned a lot of stuff. We need to bring it up outside of a meeting with the board and talk about what we found. They've got some good things. They've got some bad things. They have some pitfalls that we need to make sure we do not fall into. Second thing, Juan and I are continuing to work on the Eclipse Committee. There's a lot of stuff to do. We need help, okay? If you would like to help, this is not merely just outreach stuff. This is everything. This is planning. This is coordination. What it looks like right now is we're having a bunch of people come to us and say, hey, can you do our events? Honestly, talking with CTAS, talking with the other clubs, it is every man for himself. Everyone wants to see the eclipse themselves. They don't necessarily want to run a eclipse event for a school, for a library, for something else. If you can, if you're staying here, especially for the October eclipse, please let us know. If you want to help with an event, let us know. We will figure something out. We're trying to coordinate all that stuff right now. For the April event, it's probably still going to be every man for himself. I do not plan on being out at any site except Grandview, assuming the weather is going to be good. I will be doing a live stream for that. I actually added the live stream for October and for April on the YouTube site. So they're written in, maybe not stone, how about just nice pen or pencil? But they're there. So I've got the dates and times down. And anyone who goes to the YouTube channel, they can see it. Past that, I will be working on additional videos on eclipse safety, sun information, et cetera, putting those out on the YouTube channel. What I want to do is have information that we can give to schools, whether it's handouts, whether it's point them to the YouTube channel and say, go here, this is what you need to look at. This is where you need to go. This is the information that you need. If you have ideas for training material that I can do, that's fine. Give it to me. I will make a video out of it. We will be able to put that out to them and say, instead of someone going out to their site and teaching them what to do, go look at the YouTube channel. Everything is there. Okay? That doesn't mean that we don't want to be impersonal about it. It's just I would rather have one resource available for everybody to see than have to replicate efforts over and over and over and over. Okay? If we have to go out to a site multiple times to teach different people, that's kind of a waste of our time. Okay? We have a lot of people we need to reach in the next 10 months, and 10 months is not enough time. So doing videos, being able to show people what they need to do with those videos, being able to point to those, being able to talk to people and say, go look at this, that is ideal. Okay, at least I think that's ideal. If you have any other suggestions, that's fine, let us know. Juan, can you think of anything else? That's it for now. Stay tuned. Science news and newsletters and upcoming Yep. I'm putting out as many videos as I can. For the event that we had last Thursday, it was, well, clouded out. That weekend, I did manage to get some data. I am going to be trying to make a sun video, hopefully sometime very soon. I hope if the weather is good tomorrow, while I'm working from home, I will try to get as much data as I can using the HA scope and making video out of that and creating something that we can bring to people and say, this is what's important, this is what's going on. So that's going to eat up a lot of my time for the next 10 months, so my wife will not be happy. If she's watching, I'm terribly sorry, dear. And I think that's all I got. So any questions, comments, concerns right now? Nothing? Good. I'm ready to go home.
Thanks, Chris. Make a motion to close the meeting? Or, whoa, wait, Matt? No. Okay, make a motion to close the meeting? And part B of that is for the group to go to World of Beer, so. Okay, all in favor? Well, everybody's standing up. Okay. Thanks, everybody. Have a great evening.